All right, if you're doing calculations that involve both multiplication and division and addition and subtraction, you're going to do what is in the parentheses first, okay? You're going to determine the correct number of significant figures in the intermediate answer without rounding. You'll see how we do that in the next page, and then you'll do the remaining steps. All right, so let's move on here. All right, so in this particular calculation here, you'll see that you have these guys here in parentheses. So I need to do that portion first. So 5.67 minus 2.3, what pops out in your calculator is 3.37. So we know that since this only has, goes one place past the decimal, I know that my answer can really only go one place past the decimal, but we're not actually going to do our rounding yet. We're going to save that until the end, but we're just going to put a little line here, okay, showing that we really only go one place past the decimal. So then you're going to take your 3.489 times 3.37, and we remember that we are only able to go right to here with two significant figures because that's where this one ends, okay? So what pops out in your calculator is going to be 11.758, but we can only use two significant figures here. So we have to look at our first non-significant digit, which is greater than, greater than 5. And so that rounds this number here up to a 2. So rather than 11.758, it's going to be 12. In chemistry, our basic units of measurement are the SI units. Okay, whoops, go back. All right, so for length, our base unit is going to be meter, okay, or M. For mass, it's going to be kilogram. A lot of times you'll just see gram, okay. And time is seconds, and temperature is Kelvin. Weight versus mass. The kilogram is a measure of mass, which is different than weight, okay. Oops, go back. Different than weight. The mass of an object is a measure of the matter within it. The weight of an object is a measure of the gravitational pull on that matter. So weight depends on gravity and mass does not. All right, on the next page here, here are the SI prefix multipliers. There's a ton. We're not going to be using a lot of these very much, but ones that you will be seeing a lot are kilo, let's see, deca, deci, centi, milli, maybe a little micro, but those are the ones that we're usually going to see. So keep those in mind. All right, a derived unit is formed from other units. So many units of volume, which is a measure of space, are derived units. So any unit of length when it's cubed, so raised to a power of 3, becomes a unit of volume. Okay, so you might see cubic meters, you might see cubic centimeters, cubic millimeters. These are all units of volume. Also commonly, you'll see volume in liters, okay, or milliliters, okay, any of those, centiliters, deciliters. So if you happen to see cubic centimeters, cm cubed, that is also the same as cc, cubic centimeter, which is actually the same as milliliter. 1 milliliter. Yeah, so there we go. All right. I'm going to be using dimensional analysis or conversion factors, and however, there's different names for it, to be getting to answers for some of the problems. So like say you want to go from miles per hour to centimeters per second. you would use dimensional analysis to get there, okay? So you want to make sure when you are doing dimensional analysis that you keep your units, and you just start with your given unit, okay? And, you know, always we start with small ones, but you're going to start with your given unit, and then you're going to use a conversion factor that is a conversion between your given unit and your desired unit, so that you can get your given unit to cancel and end up in the desired unit. So conversion factors are constructed from any two quantities that are known to be equivalent. All right, so here's one, for instance. 2.54 centimeters are equal to 1 inch, okay? And you can write that like this, 2.54 centimeters over 1 inch, or we could even flip it around depending on how you need to use that conversion. So let's look at the next page. This one here, it gives you 44.7 centimeters, and we want to convert it into inches. So I'm going to use that conversion factor. Since I started out in centimeters and I know I want to convert into inches, I need to make sure that my centimeters cancel. So I have to organize my conversion factor that way so that my centimeters, since they're on the top here, they're on the bottom. That will make them cancel. And then I simply will take 44.7 divide by 2.54, and I end up with 17.6 in the unit of inches, because that was what was on top and what was left over, and that is the unit that I want. So let's say you have more than one conversion to do. It might be a good idea to do like a little solution map. So for this problem here, I'm starting out in centimeters, and I'm getting over into feet, okay? So we know that we're in centimeters. Our first step, we know that we can get from centimeters into inches using that conversion that we already learned. So our first part of our solution map would be to get into inches, okay? And then from inches, we know that we can easily get from inches to feet because we know that there are 12 inches in a foot. So that would be the next part of our little solution map. To go into feet. So if it helps you to put like little like blocks to go, okay, how am I going to get where I need to go with the conversions that I'm given? This is a really good process to go through. But basically, you just want to start with what you're given and use conversion factors all the way down to get what you're looking for. So on this one here, I started with 194 centimeters. I know that I'm trying to get to feet. I don't know a conversion that gets from centimeters to feet, but I do know a conversion that gets from centimeters to inches. I know that 1 inch has 2.54 centimeters. I have centimeters on the top here, so I need to have it on the bottom here so I can get it to cancel. Okay, so now I'm in inches, but I don't want to be in inches. I want to be in feet. Okay, so I know that 1 foot has 12 inches. Since I have inches on the top here, I need to have it on the bottom here to get it to cancel. And then I'm left with feet, which is what I'm looking for. And then I simply use my calculator, and I take 194, divide by 2.54 because it's on the bottom, and then divide by 12 because it's on the bottom. And this is what I would end up with. 6.3648 feet. What would it be to the correct amount of significant figures? Well, this is our measured value. These guys are just conversions. So we would do this to 3 significant figures. So this would be 6.36 feet. Excellent. Here's another one. This one wants us to convert from miles per gallon to kilometers per second. Okay, so they took the step first of going from miles into kilometers, and that's a perfectly fine way to go. You could also, if you decided, you could decide to convert your gallons into liters first, but we'll just follow the steps that they did. So we're starting out with 48 miles per gallon, okay? So we just have to start with one of these, start converting one at a time. I know, because you can look it up, that there are 1.609 kilometers per mile, okay? So I want my miles on the bottom because I want it to cancel, and my kilometers on the top, okay? So now I'm in kilometers, which is good, because I'm trying to get to kilometers per liter, but I'm still in gallons, okay? So you can look up that 1 gallon has 3.785 liters, okay? So because I have gallon on the bottom here, I need to have gallon on the top here to get it to cancel. Okay, there you go, it cancels. And so now I'm left with liters here. So this is good. I have my kilometers on the top, I have my liters on the bottom, and then I just put it into my calculator. If it's on the top, it gets multiplied. If it's on the bottom, it gets divided. All right, so I have 48 times 1.609 divided by 3.785, and it pops out. Actually, I'm not sure what would pop out in your calculator, but they do have this to the correct significant figures of 20.4. Always be sure to write your units, and that is kilometers per liter. Let's discuss density. So why do some people pay more than $3,000 for a bicycle made of titanium? For a given volume of metal, titanium has less mass than steel, okay? Density is mass over volume, okay? So we describe this property by saying titanium is only 4.5 grams per centimeter cubed, which is way less dense than iron that is 7.86 grams per centimeter cubed. So titanium has less mass per space than iron, which is better to ride on a bike because it's lighter. So density is mass divided by volume, or you might see it as D equals M over V. So let's say we have a liquid that has a volume of 22.5 milliliters and a mass of 27.2 grams. What is its density? Well, its density is its mass over its volume. Divide that out, you get 1.21 grams per milliliter. Okay, make sure that you write your units. Here's another one where we can use the density as a conversion factor. For a liquid substance with a density of 1.32 grams per centimeter cubed, what volume should be measured to deliver a mass of 68.4 grams? All right, so we're starting in grams. We can use this as a conversion factor. So if you look here, we have 68.4 grams. We know with this conversion factor we are given that there is 1.32 grams in 1 centimeter cubed. We want grams on the bottom to get it to cancel. So now we're in centimeters cubed, okay, which remember from the previous slide I wrote down that 1 centimeter cubed is equal to 1 milliliter, which is also equal to 1 cc. So cc is centimeter cubed, which is 1 milliliter. So we can get this to cancel and end up in milliliters. So we're going to take 68.4 divide by 1.32, and this is just a 1-to-1. So it's 51.8 milliliters. Here are some densities of some common substances, and this is in the table in your book. So basically, the larger the number, the more dense something is. Water has a density of 1.0. So basically, everything that has a greater density than the water would sink in the water, and everything that has a smaller density in the water would float in the water. This guy here would sink to the bottom, and then this one would be next, all the way up until we got to glass. And then this would be the lightest one that would really float on top. All right, good job. There's some review that you guys have in your slides, but also in the back of your book. Excellent. Thanks so much.